Yes. Yes. Like, have you seen Gilmore Girls? Just talk like them. Really, really, really fast. All right, cool. Woo! Yay. So, again, welcome to day 2. That's really loud. I'm going to step back here. So, welcome to day 2. This is the Proving Ground track. This is Tazz Tazz. And she's talking about, oh my god, it's OSINT heaven.
All right. Okay, we have 25 minutes and 24 slides. So, we're just going to go as quickly as I can so I can answer questions. If you have questions for me, I will be working the underground after this talk. I can meet everybody outside for questions and everything else. So hold questions to the end, and my contact information is going to be on the last slide. So this talk, just going to have a quick card overview. This is a spawn off on another talk that we were going to do here that we weren't able to do. Then I'll show you how we're all worried about what you're putting out, tweeting your debit cards and things like that on the internet. We'll talk a little bit about what open source intelligence is not, what magnifies it, and I'll do a quick run-through of a case study and answer questions. And if there's time, we'll run the demo of the credit card guessing program that I wrote. All right, me, just Tazz. I don't represent any particular employer. I love fight and play hard. That should probably start with fight, love, then play hard. And my contact details again on the last slide. So, some of you have seen me tweet, retweet, actually beat up people about tweeting their debit card. This is one of our friends who thought that you don't need the 3-digit code on the back of the card, or you must have it to go purchase something. Yeah, you guys go ahead and think that if you want to. But if you're going to give them their credit card, people think, oh, well, it's, all redacted. You can't see my name. You can't see things. But I would tell you that if a bad guy wants to steal your credit card, he's actually probably more interested in stealing your life. So how easy is it to steal a credit card number? Credit cards conform to a set of rules in the industry. They're 14 to 16 digits. I know you guys are thinking, 14? Yes, there are credit cards that require only 14 digits. American Express is 15, and they don't put the 16th digit on there because it's calculated. They all follow the same rules, though. It must have an industry, a vendor, bank account, and a checksum at the end of it. If I know where you work and I know you have a corporate credit card, I know what industry you're in, I already know the first digit of your credit card. The numbers are also a set of permutations. You have a basic set. So if you cut up your credit card and you cut it into 3 pieces and you take out some numbers in the middle, I can still guess your credit card number because all I have to know is how many numbers do I not have. I have options of 0 through 9 for digits. How many places do I not have? If I don't know 2, well, then that's 10 to the second power of how many possible credit card numbers there are. So people are thinking 10 times 10, that's 100 possible credit card numbers, right? She'll be there all day trying to steal my credit card number. Well, thank you to the LUN algorithm, which tells me which out of those 100 are not valid credit card numbers, will never pass a credit card check, and that just throws it out. So I have now cut my options down, and honestly, if you take out 2, the LUN algorithm will result in 10 valid credit card numbers available to me. I write a little script, I go out, I do 1-cent charges to a website, and bing, one of them is going to go through, and I now have your legitimate credit card number. Stealing your life is actually almost as easy as stealing your credit card number. The reason is we have all of these things about us. We try to say, well, I'm only sharing this much information over here, and I really didn't, nobody knows my last name, and nobody knows my real birthday, my whole birthday. Well, it's easy because the overlap in the center, and anybody with enough time and patience can steal your life if you give them just enough information to get started. So we'll talk a little bit about open source intelligence. The acronym is OSINT or OSINT, depending upon who you ask. And one single OPSEC fail is OSINT heaven to somebody like me, when I'm doing things for a good purpose legally and legitimately. So what is not open source intelligence? Open source intelligence is not the open source internet. It's actually intelligence. It's actually going out, getting pieces of information, putting them together so that they build a picture and allow people to take action or make decisions. Those actions and decisions are usually not going to be in your best interest. It is not the dark web. None of the information you're going to see here came from the dark web or whatever term we have for dark web now, the other internet or something like that. It is not conducted with a magic button. It's not somebody that has 6,000 scripts and 25,000 APIs and they put one piece of information in and press go and it comes back and it tells them everything. It does not require expensive tools. Everything you see here you'll see in this talk was done without a single tool that cost me anything. I did not spend a penny other than my time to do what I'm going to cover here in the case study. And it's not something that only the government does. And truth be told, the people that are screaming and making noise in public forums about, oh, take that down, we're not the ones stealing your identity, because a real criminal isn't going to let you know that he's looking and stealing your identity. So the multiplier for what I call the OSINT. We're going to go OSINTing. These are just a few of the applications that make my hobbies easier. Most of them are free. Almost all of them will allow me to do a free basic search for information that I take as a pivot point or a springboard and I go forward. So our case study is going to be about a single post where there was a single user ID and a single comment, and how I was able to find out everything about this guy, even down to what coffee shop he goes to and probably what toothpaste he likes. Before I get started, do not break the law when you do open source intelligence. Unless you work for a law enforcement office that says you can break the law and they're not going to send you to jail, because we don't do that, right? Shut the fuck up about what you do. Nobody's going to jail for you. Do not get on Twitter, private DMs, IRC, and talk about what the fuck you're doing if you're not supposed to be doing it. Okay? If you wrote some tool to hack something, to break and cheat and not use an API key that you were supposed to buy, don't fucking come talk to me after the talk about this. I don't want to hear that. I don't like you that much, and I'm not going to jail for you either. Nobody else in this room is. Be safe and don't be a hero. If you find something out there that is your pet peeve and it burns you because you discovered child pornography, do not be a vigilante. You need to turn that kind of shit over to the authorities immediately. If you are not a police officer or a law enforcement officer or somebody doing a bona fide investigation and you stumble across shit, don't download it to your computer, say, I was looking into these things and I need to report this. You need to stop whatever you were doing as a hobby and you need to report that immediately. Consult a lawyer if you're afraid of anything before you go to the law enforcement officers, but don't be a hero and don't try to take somebody down by yourself. Okay, so now we're going to get into the open source intelligence part of it. I went from user ID to Google He, and oh wow. So with one Google search off of this person's user ID, not even knowing his name at the time, these are just some of the URLs I was able to find immediately with a carefully crafted Google search. He's a guy, men and their money, right? You guys in your, now there's ladies, where are you at? Raise your hand, ladies. Okay, Pinterest, hobbies, makeup, blogs, how am I going to get my kids to school, ways to save time at home, trying to get the kids out to school. Yeah, okay, we're just as bad as they are, but poke at the men. So a lot of blogs and forums that you go to, you may not know it, but most of them actually put a full year, month, date, timestamp of your comments. Some of them make it obvious. It's right there on the side what the date and time was that you posted it. Some of that information isn't immediately visible to you on the UI, but there are ways to extract that information without using API keys and without having to do anything complicated. A lot of times the F12 button works really good if you're in Internet Explorer, because it will be metadata that is tied to that post. So I go to your post, I put my mouse over it, I click on it, I hit F12, and boom, in the metadata I can see what the year, date, and time was of your post. Okay? I also was able to find a date of birth, month, and year and calculate that based on those date time group stamps. I know that he was single and or dating, and when he was single and when he was dating. Got his job title, as he called it, what he did as his passion and career, and what state he lived in, all up of one forum. Now, it took me a little while to read through posts to get all the information. That is why OSINT is not a magic button. I actually had to go to the sites, I had to click on the posts, and I had to go through them. And they made it so easy for me. Wow, he had how many posts? Down in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see search users posts. Because I like you, and you're all about being popular in your blog forum, right? Because we all need our internet friends, right? Yeah, so I went to search his posts, found his profile with the exact same user ID that was associated with the other post. Now, I don't know at this point in time that this isn't somebody else with another user ID, right? Could be somebody else using the exact same. How many times have we gone to get our user ID somewhere else and it's already taken, right? So I had to gather this information to put it by as possibly identifying this individual. Also got his job. He was self-employed. He was 26 when he made this post. He lived in Texas and he was single. All in that one forum. So, if you can math, you can usually figure out somebody's birthday. He helped me out by complaining on Twitter that UPS didn't deliver his Christmas stuff when he needed it. And I was like, okay. Oh, that was the other guy. My bad. Shh. So, I took what I got in that forum, and you search big. You always have to start big and then get narrow. And the reason is because if you go out and you pick something that's very narrow scoped, you may A, leave out your real target, or B, there may not be enough information in another forum where you're trying to get the circles to overlap to find out who this person is. So I started big with just a petroleum landman and a keyword of self-employed, and I used keyword independent in LinkedIn. Again, carefully crafted LinkedIn search. Didn't have to pay for LinkedIn. And I got that I had X amount of results within Y miles of Houston. No, I'm not going to tell you how many and why, because some of you are going to try to take the slides and go out and find them yourself. So then I narrowed it down. I will tell you that I had slightly over 30 results. So I've got 30 possible douchebags, right? So I go out and I eliminated them. First got rid of anybody that wasn't 28. I know it's a guy, so females were out. That was easy. I eliminated anybody that was a lawyer or a business owner that was in the petroleum business. They stated that he stated in one of his posts in 20,000 something of the year of our Lord, he, was self-employed, so I could go back and look at his LinkedIn employment history, and anybody that wasn't self-employed, or that was not self-employed, they were out. Then anybody that was employed by, well, he was self-employed, so he's not employed by anybody else, right? Okay. Narrowed it down to associated with. I wound up with one guy out of 30 after I had some other eliminating characteristics, not on the slide. One post with that user ID. I knew what his alumni was thanks to the post that was up, and so I was able to narrow it down to the only guy that went to UT. Oh, did I say that? Okay. Now, I needed his whole birthday. Voter registration is a great place to guess somebody's birthday. This site, did I say where they are? Oh, Harris County, Houston, Texas. They will allow you to put in the person's full name and their birthday to get their verify their voter information. Well, I get any number of guesses. I know he'd already told me he was at the end of the month of July. His birthday was in a couple weeks. So I start with July 31 and the year. Enter. No such record found. Process of elimination, and about 5 or 6 guesses. I then had his, oh yeah, we found the person you're looking for. Here's your information. So yeah, voter registration, great place to get home address information. So I now have his name, his career, his birthday, and where he lives, because they're so kind to let you know that your street is in which voting district. I then take that and went to another online search source, one that was mentioned in the previous slides of graphics. I took his LinkedIn name for the guy that I had believed that it was, and I went in and wow, they gave me his phone number, all the little associated with down there. That includes his aunts, his uncles, his cousin, his grandmother, and his mother and father. So now I have all of the family's information, and I also got to find another place that he lived, that when he wasn't in Texas, when he was in college, which, oh, by the way, after I went back to the original source with the user ID and the post that spawned the whole thing, I dug through that timeline a little bit, and everything overlaps. We're back to overlapping circles and why it's so easy to steal your life. I have not even been to Facebook. Just let that sink in for a minute. So I took something from the left side, at a source on the right side, which gave me more things that I took to the left side, to another source, and zigzag back and forth down your chart. And that's pretty much how I follow the breadcrumb trail. So again, no magic button, no expensive resources to complete this. We love our picture phones, our smartphones, except for Brandon. Brandon, raise your hand. Brandon doesn't do smartphones. He's so secure. So So I take the... So then the next thing I did was I just looked for a photo overlap. So where did you post the same photo? So I do finally go out to Facebook and I find the guy that I think it is, right? I think it's this guy. Magically, he has the same pictures on this other account that's totally not associated with him because he's nowhere mentioned on Facebook, right? Yeah, and all of the photos, like not all, but like his LinkedIn photo overlaps, his social media account that spawned the investigation has some of the exact same pictures. I run them through, and I will get TinEye. Some of you have heard of TinEye. TinEye was one of the things that I used for cross-referencing data. But there were enough overlapping points that we were able to say with reasonable certainty that this was the individual. Again, he also had travel dates and activities that were overlapping between accounts. Like, he may not tell you when he was gone, but he will say, hey, last week when I was in Florida, blah, blah, blah. And this is on one social media account. And then another social media account with a completely different user ID, you wouldn't know that it was associated with him, was, oh, wow, he was there. And on Facebook, his friend was with him. I found his friend in the other social media account. That guy has another friend with the exact same pictures, but a completely different name. So, at the end of the day, this is where we come up with. I started with one user ID, and at the end of the day, and I haven't shown all the tools and all the information, I had his date of birth, his current employer, former employers, almost all of his social media accounts, and there are other ones that were not supposed to be him. I knew where he went to college, when he graduated, which high school he went to, what football team he played on, what position he played. I actually knew from the financial forums other places that he was keeping his money and things he was attempting to accomplish. I had his name, his address, phone numbers, emails. I had a bunch of URLs that overlapped with where he was at. And he was dumb enough to actually go favorite the same organization on his Facebook page, although he didn't like and comment on things, but he had them in, you know, the Facebook like things. What are those things called? The organizations you follow? I don't Facebook, so sorry. I stopped Facebooking so long ago. And then probably the worst one is the association details. Because a lot of times people, if they're stalking you or coming after you, they're not going to come after you directly. They're going to start following your friends and family. And as you can see, I found everything down from that guy's grandmother, great-grandmother, father, mother, brother, sister, cousin, uncle, and their associations from one website. So you actually, if you're out there doing shit you shouldn't be doing, you shouldn't have these social media accounts because you're putting your friends and family at risk. And so if you guys have kids, you guys talk to your kids about that, putting the children at risk. If you guys are out doing things that you shouldn't be doing, I called one young lady's mother when she posted stuff on Twitter. Yeah, I looked her family up and I called her mom and dad. And I was like, so, oh, by the way, your daughter's making herself a target for a pedophile who lives 2 blocks over from you. Needless to say, I had her mother's attention, and I gave her mother the website to go find the pedophile to confirm that what I was telling her was not BS. Her daughter had posted her driver's license because it was a milestone event for a 16-year-old to get their driver's license. Oh, my God, look at my first driver's license. Full name, address. I think she took like a little red pick art edit thing and tried to line through something like we couldn't just read the letters above and below and figure out what it said. She tried. So, it was that easy. So, Facebook is great, but you don't need Facebook to do open source intelligence. And honestly, I don't start with Facebook because to me, if you go out and you look for a name that you think it is, you may completely miss all the other stuff that's out there. I like Facebook because Facebook, at the end of the day, fits right here. Facebook will confirm for me everything in all of the other areas that I found. It will be where you put it all together. Because we're in open source, we're in the community of security and we do open source intelligence, and a lot of us run around with aliases everywhere else, but we are real people to our friends and family, right? We have our real name up there, and we're very careful. We lock our Facebooks down. Open security people, do you really lock your Facebook down so people can't see stuff? Yeah, your friends and family probably don't lock their Facebooks down as well. So I would tell you that if you're doing something in security and it's high profile or whatever, I actually would strongly encourage you to get rid of your Facebook account. Because Facebook brings all the pieces of the pie together to make a single apple pie. And that's actually the end of my talk. I think I have 4 minutes for questions. Do we have any questions? Yes, sir, if you want to.
One, two, yeah. Hi, my name is Paul. I'm from Poland. Most of the tools you showed us are like US based for searching info about people in US. How about people living in Europe? Do you know about tools and maybe use them to find info about people in?
The screen captures you saw on the OS internet slides, those aren't limited to US based people.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a problem to find info about anybody living in Poland, for example, if they...
I would tell you that the EU has done a very good job about having a forget-me policy. I will tell you that people that live in the EU have not done a very good job of using it.
Okay, thanks.
So what would you recommend we do to protect ourselves, to make it harder?
The question is, what do I recommend we do to protect ourselves to make it harder? My first recommendation, honestly, is get rid of Facebook. Seriously. That's my first recommendation. And it's not only because of what I can find, it's because of APIs that they have, the ability to search. And you guys remember the big scare years ago about the graphing thing on Facebook? It's not gone. I'm just going to tell you that. You may go make an account now and it may not work for current accounts. There are historical accounts to which I still have access that I can leverage that. So where Facebook has publicly said, oh, we don't do these things, there are accounts that still have access to it. I would honestly tell you to do that. One, you need to educate your family and your friends. The talk that I'm giving here now, you need to take this information back to your friends, your family, your churches, your social organizations, and you need to have this talk with them. You guys need to be giving back to the community and doing free talks to educate people on the risks. So if you want to protect yourselves, educate other people on how to not be stupid. Yes?
Just a couple of those lines. Since it's so hard to actually fall off the grid, suggestions what the grid.
Yes, disinformation is another good thing. Hey, I was over here, oh, well, Florida was great this weekend, even though you were in Germany or you were in Washington State. Disinformation is really good. It has to be random. It can't be like every Wednesday you post a new post, because that's so obvious that every Wednesday between 12 and 2 you've put that you were somewhere. Well, I know that you aren't. That's just too obvious. I've seen that. But disinformation has to be semi-legitimate. So what I used to do is if I talked to a friend and they're like, oh yeah, I was here last weekend, I would go on whatever my other account was and I would put, oh yeah, such and such was a great time, and then next week some other friend that was over somewhere, oh yeah, that's right, I went to go. Or I would just, I'd flip a coin at the beginning of the week, and, Monday, Wednesday, Friday was heads, Tuesdays, Thursdays was tails, Wednesday was reflip because it's already too predictable, and, pick a friend, and hey, that's who I went to go visit. And that friend hasn't mentioned anything about me visiting them, so then people are like, okay, well, maybe that's not the right person. But disinformation is another good thing. And you can remove yourself from the grid. It is very difficult, but you can do it. And I will repost these slides, and I believe if you want to write it down, I think it's albine.com, ALBINE. They have a very good list of sources and they offer a service to help remove you from the grid. You can send the please remove me emails, and some of them are going to require you to show that you are who you are, and you have to send a copy of your driver's license, redact certain things, and then they will delete you out of their databases, and they will prevent their databases from syncing with the other databases where they're pulling in your data. But I think it's albine.com. Yes?
I was talking about like the stupid little shopping cart things and stuff. You put a different address, different phone number every time you sign up for one of those. You put 50 of those out for that one time period. It creates too much work for people to search through all that information.
I think I have a question over there. If you,
I get what you're saying, and I completely agree with how you're saying toward the friends and family. The problem comes when I do preach to friends and family, and they're like, I don't get it, I don't care, or why would I do this?
unfriend. If you don't give a fuck about me, then at that level, then I don't need to give a fuck about you at that level. Unfriend.
Is that what you say?
Yeah. Well, if you don't care about me enough to respect it, unfriend. I love you. I will love you from a distance. I will text on. We will whatever. Unfriend. Seriously.
Make the case, like just random, Joe from Hoboken or Pete from Peoria that would have no care in the world about hiding his identity. What would you say to him about securing his assets or his identity online?
Well, if they come to see you talk, they want to learn. Don't waste your breath on people that won't listen. Yes, ma'am. And I think we're out of time. Oh, it goes. Okay. Well, while he sets up, can I answer one or two more questions then while you set up, I guess? I'll get out of your way. Yes.